We live in a world where almost nothing feels predictable anymore, where technology shifts overnight, where businesses rise and collapse in a few years, where the world you thought you understood as a child feels obsolete by the time you're an adult. In that kind of environment, the idea of making promises, especially promises about love and the future, can sound almost irrational. How can anyone guarantee something when so much is uncertain? But that is exactly why promises matter. A promise is not about controlling the external world. It is about defining the internal principles that guide how you will respond to whatever happens. A promise is like first principles thinking applied to relationships. In engineering, if you rely on assumptions handed down by others, you get stuck with limitations that aren't real. But when you break things down to the physics, to what you know is undeniably true, you can design solutions that everyone else thinks are impossible. A promise works the same way. It's not based on external circumstances that shift. It's based on core values you choose to operate from no matter what. That's why I want to talk about the secret promises I'm writing for my future wife. They are not paper words or pretty sentences for a wedding day. They are operating instructions, personal code, design parameters that will shape how I build, respond, and adapt as life changes. They are not a fantasy of control over the outside world, but a commitment to control the inside choices I make regardless of what the outside world throws at us. Think about it this way. If you build a rocket without a clear design principle, every unexpected variable destroys you. Wind shear, engine failure, material stress, all of it throws you off course. But if you build with resilience in mind, with redundancy, with clear mission objectives, you can adapt to almost anything. Love is no different. Most relationships fail not because love disappears, but because they weren't engineered to withstand pressure, entropy, and change. Promises are how you engineer love. They are your redundancies, your guiding mission, your first principles. And in a time when people treat relationships like disposable tech upgrades, where the moment it gets difficult they replace instead of repair, making strong promises is almost a revolutionary act. When I imagine speaking to my future wife, I don't want to give her vague reassurance that everything will always feel perfect. That would be like telling investors every rocket launch will succeed on the first try. It's not honest, and it's not helpful. What I want to give her is a clear set of promises that tell her how I will behave when it's not perfect, because it won't always be perfect. Life will be messy, unpredictable, and challenging. But if she knows the framework I operate from, she can trust the system even when the outcomes are temporarily unstable. That's what a promise really is. It's a system guarantee, not an outcome guarantee. Most people confuse the two. They think a promise means predicting the future. Number A. Promise means defining the process. I can't promise the market will always favor us, but I can promise I'll keep innovating. I can't promise the weather will cooperate with a launch, but I can promise we'll design for contingencies. In love, I can't promise there won't be conflicts, stress, or disappointment, but I can promise how I'll respond, how I'll communicate, and how I'll prioritize. That's infinitely more valuable than empty guarantees. So why am I writing these promises now, before I even know exactly who she is? Because design happens before assembly. You don't start welding a rocket and then decide what it's supposed to do. You start with mission objectives and design criteria, then you build the hardware. I'm designing myself for the mission of love and partnership before assembling the details. That way, when she and I build our life, we already have the architecture for something resilient and extraordinary. And this matters for another reason. The future is going to get more chaotic, not less. We're moving into decades where AI will reshape industries, where climate instability will change economies, where geopolitical risks will fluctuate constantly. Stability will be rare. The only way to navigate that is with adaptive principles. The same is true for love. If your relationship depends on stable conditions, it will collapse as soon as life shifts. But if it's built on adaptive promises, it can thrive in volatility. That's why my promises are not just romantic words. They are survival strategies, growth frameworks, innovation models applied to the most important mission of my life. They are about defining how to create resilience in love, and they are deeply personal. Because I don't want my future wife to wonder if our happiness depends on luck, or money, or circumstances. I want her to know it depends on promises that I control and keep. She won't have to guess whether I'll choose honesty over comfort, whether I'll prioritize time over distractions, whether I'll evolve or stagnate, whether I'll dream alone or with her. She'll know, because I've already promised, and for me, a promise is a design spec. If you look at history, Almost every breakthrough came from people who refused to accept the default limitations. They created new possibilities by committing to a vision. That's what I want love to be. Not an accident, not an assumption, but a mission we commit to with clarity. And just like engineering, it won't always be glamorous. It will involve testing, iteration, setbacks, and learning. But with clear promises, with principles that don't shift with the weather, the mission stays on track. That's the power of a promise in an uncertain world. It doesn't guarantee that turbulence won't come. It guarantees how you'll fly through it. So as I begin this journey, before even speaking the promises directly to her, I'm engraving them into my mindset, my choices, and my design for life. Because the mission is too important to leave to chance. Promises matter more now than ever, not because the world is stable, but because it's unstable. And in that instability, clarity becomes love's most powerful fuel. That is why I'm writing them. That is why they matter. And that is the foundation of everything that comes next. The first promise I make to my future wife is simple in words but radical in practice. I will build our happiness, not buy it. In a world obsessed with consumerism, where social media convinces people that joy is measured in the size of a house, the brand of a car, or the shine of jewelry, I want our happiness to be defined by what we create together, not what we purchase. Because here's the truth. Material possessions depreciate, shared experiences appreciate. A new car smells nice for a few weeks, and then it's just another vehicle, but the memory of driving through the desert at midnight, windows down, music blasting, laughing together, that memory compounds in value over time. It becomes a story, a bond, an anchor. Buying happiness is consumption, building happiness is creation. I want our love to be a continuous act of creation. Whether we live in a small apartment with hand-me-down furniture or a home with every comfort, it won't matter if the energy inside is alive with adventure, laughter, and purpose. Adventure beats comfort. Purpose outshines luxury. That's the equation I want us to live by. When I look at the way most people approach happiness, I see them caught in a treadmill of consumption. They chase the next product, the next upgrade, the next purchase, believing it will fill the void. It never does. The dopamine hit fades and they're back in the store again, whether physical or digital. I don't want that cycle for us. I want us to design a different operating system where joy is engineered from connection, collaboration, and creativity. Think about it like this. Imagine a couple who spends $5,000 on a vacation package where everything is prearranged, polished, and Instagram ready. They come back with photos that look perfect but memories that feel generic. Now imagine another couple who spends $200 on gas, packs food, takes a road trip, gets lost, finds a hidden diner, meets strangers, laughs through setbacks, and discovers something new about each other in the process. Which story lasts? Which story becomes the kind you tell your kids years later with a smile? It's obvious. It's the one you built, not bought. That's why my promise is so important. It's not about rejecting money or success. I believe in abundance, and I will work to create it. But abundance is not only financial. True abundance is emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. It is a richness of memories, a surplus of love, a compounding interest of laughter. I promise to engineer that kind of wealth for us. In practice, this means making choices where experiences win over objects. Instead of buying another gadget that will feel outdated in a year, I'll choose to spend time cooking dinner with you, experimenting with recipes, failing, laughing, and then finally creating a meal that feels like ours. Instead of measuring our worth by the brand of clothes we wear, I'll measure it by the quality of conversations we have on late-night walks. Instead of pouring energy into maintaining a polished facade for others, I'll pour energy into designing moments that matter only to us. Because the wealth I want us to have is not in things, but in stories. And stories only come when you build. This promise also builds resilience into our love. If happiness depends on purchases, then a financial setback becomes a relationship setback. But if happiness depends on creativity, time, and connection, then even in lean seasons our love stays strong. If we can turn a tough moment into an adventure, if we can laugh when plans fail, if we can make something beautiful out of something broken, then no external circumstance can collapse us. That's security. Not the balance of a bank account, but the resilience of a bond. Let me take it even further. When you engineer happiness instead of buying it, you create a compounding loop. Each shared adventure adds to your collective memory, which strengthens your trust, which makes you more willing to try again, which creates more adventures. It's positive feedback. Like engineering a rocket, where every test creates data, every failure improves design, and every success creates momentum. Building happiness works the same way. Every moment created builds momentum for the next. And that is a system that doesn't degrade, it accelerates. I know it won't always be easy. There will be days when buying a quick distraction feels tempting. There will be pressures from culture, from society, from peers who measure success by the square footage of their house or the logo on their clothes. But I promise not to let those false signals define us, because happiness built from consumption is fragile. Happiness built from creation is anti-fragile. It grows stronger under stress. If we face loss, we'll have stories no one can take away. If we face change, we'll have memories that anchor us. If we face the unknown, we'll face it with curiosity instead of fear, because we've trained ourselves to build joy out of whatever materials life gives us. I want my future wife to know that when she stands with me, she's not signing up for a life that depends on external circumstances to be good. She's signing up for a life where happiness is engineered daily, intentionally, creatively. She'll know that no matter where we are, from a tiny apartment to a home filled with light, she'll feel the same energy, the same laughter, the same spark, because we built it. That's the kind of wealth I want to promise her. And it's not just about the present, it's about the future. One day when we're older, I don't want to reminisce about what we bought. I want to reminisce about what we built. I want to sit with her and say, remember that time we tried to fix the car ourselves and made it worse but ended up laughing for hours? Or, remember when we traveled with almost no money and still had the best week of our lives? That's the archive I want for us. That's the museum of moments I want to curate with her. And that's why this promise matters. To build, not buy, happiness is to guarantee that our love stays alive regardless of what life throws at us. It's to guarantee that our wealth is measured not in possessions but in memories. It's to guarantee that we are not consumers of life but creators of it. And in a world that tries to sell happiness at every turn, building it ourselves will be our quiet rebellion and our greatest strength. The second promise I make to my future wife is that I will never stop evolving, because stagnation is the slow death of dreams and the silent killer of love, and I refuse to let that into our story. Evolution is not optional in a world that changes daily. If you freeze, the world moves past you, technology overtakes you, opportunities vanish, and even relationships decay because they are not fed with new energy. The same way a company becomes irrelevant when it stops innovating, a relationship risks irrelevance when people stop growing. I promise her that she will never wake up next to a man who has given up, who has surrendered to routine, who has chosen comfort over curiosity. She will wake up next to someone who keeps learning, who keeps pushing boundaries, who keeps finding new ways to grow, so that our life together never feels stale. Growth is the most romantic gift I can offer, because it means the person she marries will not be the final version of me. He will be the foundation for countless better versions to come. When I look at the trajectory of my own life, I see it marked not by stability, but by relentless adaptation. Every major success was born out of failures, experiments, and upgrades. That's what keeps systems alive, and love is a system too. It needs upgrades, it needs patches, it needs continuous integration. If you ignore the updates, bugs creep in, and soon the whole thing collapses. I promise to keep updating myself so that our relationship can keep running on the newest, strongest version of who I am. That means physical growth. I will take care of my health, my body, not for vanity but for vitality. I want to be strong enough to travel with her, energetic enough to play with our children, resilient enough to face decades together without being slowed down by preventable choices. I don't want her to worry that I'll burn out early or neglect myself. I want her to feel secure that she has a partner built for longevity. It also means intellectual growth. The world is moving at warp speed, and to stay relevant, to stay interesting, to stay valuable, I must keep learning. I promise to keep reading, experimenting, feeding my mind, so that our conversations never run dry. I want her to feel that being with me means endless curiosity, new ideas, and inspiration, not repetition of the same stories. Every time she sits across from me, she will discover something new, because I will never stop discovering. Emotional growth is equally vital. Nobody is born knowing how to love perfectly. We all have flaws, we all carry scars, we all make mistakes. But the difference between people who build lasting relationships and those who don't is whether they evolve emotionally. I promise to grow in patience, in empathy, in listening, in forgiveness. I promise to work on my weaknesses, not hide them. I promise to learn from her, to be open when she shows me where I can do better, to treat feedback not as criticism but as fuel for growth. That's how trust deepens, and that's how love survives. Spiritual growth also matters to me. Life is unpredictable. There will be setbacks, failures, storms we can't see coming. When those moments hit, faith, whether in God, the universe, or simply in the resilience of the human spirit, is the anchor. I will cultivate that inner strength, that belief in meaning, that ability to see beyond temporary setbacks, so that when she feels weak, she can lean on me, and when I feel weak, she knows I have the tools to find strength again. Growth will not only be for me. I promise to support her evolution too. If she wants to change careers at 40, I'll cheer for her. If she wants to start a business, I'll back her. If she wants to learn a new skill, I'll learn with her. Love is not about one person growing while the other stays behind. It's about creating a space where both people evolve without limits. I want her to feel that with me. She can keep expanding, not shrinking. That her dreams are safe, her ambitions encouraged, her evolution celebrated. Together, we'll be unstoppable, because growth compounds when shared. The beauty of this promise is that it creates perpetual discovery. Imagine being married for 20 years and still feeling like there are new layers of your partner you haven't explored. That's what evolution guarantees. I want her to look at me decades later and still be surprised, still be curious, still be fascinated. I want to look at her and feel the same. Growth keeps mystery alive, and mystery keeps passion alive. Too many relationships die because people assume they know everything about each other. I promise we will never reach that point, because I will never stop changing, and I will always keep rediscovering her too. Evolution also makes us resilient. When challenges come, and they will, we won't be the same people who faced the last challenge. We'll be stronger, wiser, more capable. That's the advantage of relentless growth. It means that every obstacle we face will be met by upgraded versions of ourselves. We won't fight today's battles with yesterday's tools. We'll fight them with new skills, new perspectives, new strength. That's how couples become unbreakable, and I promise to lead by example. To always be the one pushing forward, showing her that change is not to be feared but embraced, that the best version of us is always still ahead, waiting to be created. So this is my second promise, to evolve relentlessly, to keep becoming, to keep adapting, to keep upgrading, because love is not static. It is dynamic, alive, and it deserves partners who are dynamic and alive too. I will never stop growing, and because of that, our love will never stop growing. That is my vow. The third promise I make to my future wife is radical honesty, because without truth there can be no trust, and without trust there can be no love. Honesty is not optional, it is the operating system of a relationship, the base code that determines whether the system runs or crashes. If data input is corrupted, the output will always be flawed, and the same principle applies to love. If I feed the relationship half-truths, omissions, or lies, the outcome will eventually be failure, no matter how much effort we put into appearances. I will not build a love that runs on illusions. I will build one that runs on clarity. That means telling the truth, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it risks conflict, even when silence would be easier. Most people avoid truth because they think it will hurt, but lies hurt more. They hurt slower, deeper, and permanently. A hard truth can sting for a moment, but a hidden truth corrodes trust until there is nothing left to save. I promise my wife that she will never have to guess what I am thinking, where I am, or who I am becoming. She will know because I will tell her. If I fail, I will admit it before it grows into something larger. If I am struggling, I will share it before distance creeps in. If I feel joy, I will express it fully so she knows she is part of it. Radical honesty is not about being harsh, it is about being real. It is about speaking with clarity but also with kindness. It means that when I tell her something difficult, it will not be to wound her, it will be to heal us. If something feels wrong, I will not let it fester in silence, I will say it so we can solve it. If something feels missing, I will not pretend everything is fine, I will share it so we can build better. And when I tell her I love her, she will know it is not a habit or a performance, it is the raw truth of what I feel in that moment. Radical honesty also means listening to her truth without defense. If she tells me something I do not want to hear, I will not shut down or fight back. I will remember that her honesty is an act of love, even if it is hard for me to accept. I will stay open because the moment we stop being honest, we start drifting apart. Many relationships do not break because of one catastrophic betrayal. They break because of countless small lies and unspoken frustrations that pile up over time. I refuse to let that happen to us. Financial honesty is part of this too, because money is one of the top reasons relationships collapse. I will never hide debts, overspending, or risks. If I succeed, she will know why. If I fail, she will know how. If I want to take a risk, I will involve her in the decision. There will be no secret accounts, no hidden purchases, no private agendas. When you share a life, you share everything, not just the victories, but the vulnerabilities. I will be transparent because I would rather face temporary discomfort than plant the seeds of long-term mistrust. This promise also extends to my evolution. People change over time, values shift, priorities rearrange. I will not let her wake up one day and feel she no longer knows me. If my perspective changes on something important, I will tell her. If I discover new passions or ideas, I will share them. She will not have to piece together who I am becoming. She will be part of the process. Even in the smallest details, honesty will guide me. If I say I will be home at 7, I will be home at 7, or I will let her know if I cannot. If I compliment her, it will not be generic flattery but specific and real. If I make a promise, I will keep it or admit directly if circumstances force me to break it. Radical honesty requires courage, but it also creates freedom. When you know that everything spoken is true, you stop second guessing, you stop wondering what is hidden, you relax into trust. That trust creates the safest space in the world, a space where love can breathe without fear. I want her to feel that with me. I want her to know she never has to put up walls, never has to doubt, never has to wonder, because she will know the truth. Always. I am aware that honesty will be tested, especially in moments when telling the truth could disappoint her, when hiding it would seem easier. But I promise I will not take the easy way out. I would rather face her temporary anger than live with her permanent doubt. I would rather risk a hard conversation now than a broken foundation later, because once trust cracks, no amount of charm or gifts can rebuild it completely. Radical honesty is the strongest form of respect, and respect is the root of love. I want her to know she is worth the truth, always. That I will never underestimate her strength by feeding her lies. That I will never disrespect her by pretending. Our love will thrive not because it looks perfect, but because it is real. And reality, even when messy, is more beautiful than illusion. This is my third promise, to be radically honest, not selectively, not occasionally, but always, because in the long run, the truth is not what breaks relationships, it is what saves them. And my love is worth saving every single day. The fourth promise I make to my future wife is about time, because time is the most finite and irreplaceable resource we have, more valuable than money, more critical than possessions, and once it is gone, it cannot be reclaimed. I can always make more money, I can always build new projects, but I can never create another moment we missed, and that is why I will treat time as treasure and give it to her deliberately. When I am with her, I will be fully present, not checking emails under the table, not half listening while my mind is elsewhere, but actually giving her my best energy, not my leftovers. Presence is love converted into action. There will be seasons when I am overwhelmed by projects, deadlines, or opportunities, but even then I will not let her feel like she is competing with my ambition. I will carve out time that belongs to us alone, because no achievement matters if the person you love feels neglected. Time is the currency of connection, and small daily rituals, coffee together in the morning, an evening walk, cooking a meal without distractions, those are the moments that glue a relationship together. I promise to protect those rituals fiercely, because they matter more than meetings, more than screens, more than endless distractions. I also know that life is unpredictable, and the number of days we get together is uncertain, which makes each one more valuable. That is why I will not delay joy for someday. I will choose spontaneous road trips, late-night conversations, watching sunsets, creating memories now, because later is never guaranteed. And when she looks back, I want her to remember a life where she always felt prioritized, always felt seen, always felt that time was spent with her, not around her. This is not sacrifice, it is investment, because the quality of our relationship defines the quality of our lives. The fifth promise connects to the fourth, because once you give time, you must also give energy to make sure passion survives. Routine is the silent killer of love, creeping in disguised as stability. At first, routine feels safe, predictable, comfortable, but over time it dulls excitement, kills curiosity, and turns love into parallel habits instead of a shared adventure. I refuse to let that happen. I promise my wife that I will never let routine extinguish passion, that I will keep our love alive with creativity, surprise, and intentional effort. Passion is like fuel in a rocket. It must be replenished constantly, otherwise momentum is lost. That does not mean extravagant gestures every day. It means thoughtful ones, handwritten notes, cooking her favorite meal on a random Tuesday, showing up unexpectedly with her favorite coffee, turning the kitchen into a dance floor when a song we love comes on. It means keeping love playful, keeping it unpredictable in the best way. I want her to wake up even decades later and still feel curious about what adventure today might hold. Keeping passion alive also means continuously learning about her because people change, and I do not want to assume I know everything about her. If her dreams evolve, I want to evolve with them. If her tastes shift, I want to explore them. If she grows into new layers of herself, I want to discover them, not ignore them. Rediscovery is one of the secrets to keeping love vibrant. I also promise to prioritize fun, even when life is heavy. Stress will come, bills, responsibilities, setbacks, but I will not let them steal our laughter. If that means watching a silly movie after a brutal day, or playing board games when the world feels chaotic, then that is what we will do. Laughter is not trivial, it is medicine, and it keeps love resilient. Romance will never be reserved only for anniversaries or holidays. I promise to weave it into ordinary days, to bring candles to a random dinner, to plan surprise getaways, to make regular life feel magical. Physical passion is part of this too, and I will never let it fade into neglect. Affection, touch, intimacy, those are the nonverbal languages of love, and they must stay alive. Holding her hand during a walk, kissing her forehead unexpectedly, hugging her from behind while she cooks, those are small signals that communicate desire and connection louder than words. Passion thrives when two people feel valued, wanted, and seen. Adventure will be a core part of our lives. Whether it is traveling to new places, trying new experiences, or simply saying yes to things outside our comfort zones, I want us to live like explorers, not settlers. Even when we are older and slower, we will keep adventuring in ways that match our season, learning a new skill, discovering a new book together, exploring a part of our city we have never seen. The point is to keep creating stories, because stories are the fuel of passion, and passion is the oxygen of love. This promise also means I will not take her for granted. Gratitude is the spark that keeps passion alive. I will thank her for small things, notice her efforts, tell her I appreciate her presence, because when you truly value someone, you naturally want to keep surprising them, keep making them feel special, keep the fire alive. So my fourth and fifth promises are connected like two engines. One is time, the resource, the irreplaceable fuel, and the other is passion, the spark, the energy that turns time into magic. With time and passion, love does not just survive, it thrives, it evolves, it stays young. Without them, even the strongest relationship withers. I will give her my time as the most expensive gift I can offer, and I will fill that time with passion so that it never becomes routine. That is my vow, to engineer both time and passion into our love so it becomes an unbreakable system, one that lasts not because it is easy, but because it is intentional. The sixth promise I make to my future wife is that I will dream big, but never alone, because ambition without inclusion isolates, and ambition without love is hollow, and I refuse to build a future that feels like mine but not ours. Dreams are the engines that drive human progress. They give us direction, meaning, and momentum. But if they are pursued selfishly, they create distance instead of unity. I promise her that every dream I chase will have her in it, not as a spectator but as a co-creator, not standing on the sidelines watching me build, but standing beside me designing and dreaming too. I want her to know that when I imagine the future, I see two chairs at every table, two sets of footprints in every journey, two voices in every decision. Because what is the point of landing on Mars, metaphorically or literally, if the person you love is not part of the mission? Shared dreams transform ambition into intimacy. They turn goals into glue. I have seen too many couples drift apart not because of betrayal or lack of love, but because their visions of the future stopped overlapping. One chased career, the other chased comfort. One wanted to grow, the other wanted to stay, and slowly they built two different worlds. I promise that will never be us. If I run ahead, I will stop and wait for her. If she has a dream, I will run with her. If our visions diverge, we will find the common ground, because partnership means more than living in the same house, it means living in the same vision. Dreaming big together does not always mean massive ventures or global missions. Sometimes it means small, but deeply intentional goals, designing our dream home, creating family traditions, writing a list of places to visit, deciding what kind of legacy we want to leave for our children. These shared visions become the scaffolding of love. They give shape to the future and purpose to the present. And when those dreams are pursued hand in hand, the bond becomes unshakable. This promise also means I will support her dreams with the same intensity I support mine. If she wants to start a business, I will help her brainstorm. If she wants to change careers at 50, I will cheer her on. If she wants to learn something new or chase a wild idea, I will back her. Because partnership is not about one person shining while the other shrinks. It is about creating space where both can expand and thrive. I want her to know that her ambitions will never be an inconvenience to me. They will be part of our collective mission. And if she stumbles or doubts herself, I will remind her why she started. I will give her the courage she gives me. Because dreams are fragile in their early stages, and one word of support can make the difference between abandoning them and building them. I promise to be that word. But dreaming big also requires wisdom, because dreams often come with risk, financial, emotional, practical, and I promise to manage those risks with transparency so she never feels unsafe. I will communicate openly about the costs, the challenges, the contingencies. I will take risks boldly but wisely, and I will make sure that even when we step into the unknown, she knows we are stepping together with eyes open. Courage over comfort, yes, but not recklessness. Dreaming big also means listening to her perspective, because sometimes she will see opportunities I miss or dangers I ignore. Her insights will sharpen my vision, her instincts will refine my plans, and our combined perspective will make our dreams stronger. I do not want her to just watch my journey. I want her to shape it. That is the power of two minds aligned, two imaginations feeding off each other, creating something larger than either could alone. Beyond the practical, dreaming big together is about who we want to become as people. What kind of couple do we want to be remembered as? What kind of impact do we want to have on the people around us? What values do we want to pass on? These questions turn a relationship from just living to leading, from survival to significance. I want us to wake up each day knowing we are not just moving through time, but building something meaningful. And even when life changes, when dreams shift, when some fade and new ones emerge, the promise will remain the same: to keep dreaming together, never letting life reduce us to routine, never letting fear shrink us. Because the moment dreams die, love becomes maintenance instead of creation, and I refuse to let that happen. Even when we are old, I want us to still have plans, still have goals, still have something to look forward to, whether it is a final trip, a book we write together, or simply planting a garden that someone else will enjoy. Dreaming is not just about achieving, it is about becoming, and I want us to keep becoming until the end. This is my sixth promise: to dream audaciously but inclusively, to make sure that every goal I chase is one we chase, to make sure that ambition strengthens our bond instead of weakening it. Because the only thing more powerful than achieving a dream is achieving it with the person you love most. And in the end, that is the story I want us to write, not just a story of individual success, but a story of shared vision, shared courage, and shared creation. That is how love becomes extraordinary, not by avoiding risk, not by staying small, but by dreaming big together.